Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara Designs, and today I have some really fun silver and pink birthday cards to share with you guys, so let's jump right in. So as usual, I am going to cut down my cardstock. It's just my preference. I like to see what I'm working with, and of course, as always, you can cut out the center of my mat. I don't like to do that, but you absolutely can if that's your preference for your supplies. So I've cut my silver mat down to be about 1/8 of an inch smaller than my A2 base, which when scored and folded is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then for my HammerMill layer, I'm going to cut that down to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than my A2 base. As a general rule, I honestly eyeball my measurements quite a bit, but that would be the closest I'd get to have these kind of nice thin layers, which is kind of my preference for the borders. You can, of course, make the borders larger if that's what you want to do. You could do like 1/4 smaller and then 1/4 smaller, and that would probably be a slightly easier measurement, but I like the thin border, so that is the direction I tend to go. And I am going to save the longer silver piece from these trimmings and add that on the inside of the card later, so that there's just a little bit of something extra on the inside. Now, I get a lot of questions about how I store my domed foams. This is a storage I actually came up with a while ago. It's a live stream on my channel. It walks you through how to make it. I will link that here for you in the top corner if you want to go check it out and see how it was put together. But this is the easiest way I've found to store the domed foams. So that's kind of what I do with them. And then the flat foams I actually keep underneath my Distress Ink minis because they fit beautifully, and then I use those ones specifically for my inks, and then I use the dome foams for my oxides. I don't own the full size of the Distress Inks, so that works out really well for me. And that's kind of the easiest way for me to storage everything. So for my colors, I went with Spun Sugar, Milled Lavender, and Seedless Preserves. It just seemed like kind of a fun blend. I know Seedless Preserves is technically considered a purple, as is Milled Lavender, but it's kind of a fun blend between the three colors. If you guys have been with me for a while, you know that I'm still working on finding like my preferred blend for purples, and I still haven't quite hit it. So this feels more pink to me than purple, even though two of these colors are technically purples, and they're just a very pinked purple in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. It's just fun to play with colors, and you guys know that I do tend towards the purplies, pinkies colors. Those are kind of my preference when I'm reaching for colors. But of course, if these are not your style of color, easily replicable in any kind of color palette you want to do. This would be really pretty in blues and teals, I think, as well, or anything, oranges and yellows. It's just a fun card design. And I don't reach for silver as my accent color very often. I don't know why. I like silver. I tend towards gold more. So I thought we needed to bust out the silver just to do something a little different. And then I brought in the Tim Holtz Floral Trims stamp. You guys know this is, I love florals. They are one of my favorite things to work with. And I couldn't resist using this beautiful floral again in a card design. I have used it many, many times. Any larger floral design you have would work for this though. So, I mean, there's no right or wrong here. If you don't have a floral design, bring out some leaves. I think that would look really cool too. You don't have leaves. I mean, there's so many things you could do here. Anything larger, any larger stamp that covers a decent area would be a cool for this design. So I just brought it into my Misti. I have a Waffle Flower grip mat. That's not what it's called, but that's what I call it. In the bottom of my Misti, that's how I hold my cardstock in place. So I don't have to bring in the magnet unless I absolutely need to. So I use that. And then I lined up my stamp 5 squares from the bottom. And then that's how I can keep like placing my cardstock in there, stamping it down with my Versamark, covering it with the Brutus Monroe sterling embossing powder. And then that's kind of what I just go through and do here. There's no right or wrong. My stamp, it's so funny. I have cleaned the stamp several times, and yet it is still giving me black. So I don't know. It doesn't matter because we're covering it with silver embossing powder. So if there's a little bit of black residue from the past ink, it doesn't matter, right? Because we're going to cover it up. If you were trying to do this in clear, it would matter a little bit more just because it is giving me like a black tint a little bit. But For what we're specifically doing here, it really doesn't really matter. So I'm not too concerned about it. But it's funny because I have cleaned my stamp, and I do have a stamp cleaner, like a solution for stamp cleaning. And I have cleaned the stamp several times, but I've also used it several times. And I do find that the red rubber especially kind of grabs your ink and holds onto it. I think it conditions the stamp and then it stamps better. But it's one of those things where it's kind of funny because I don't really want to transfer black to my stamps. It doesn't really matter in this instance, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, so I'm going to stamp all 4 panels. I am making 4 cards. If you guys have been here for a bit, you know that I've kind of leaned towards doing sets of cards. I just think that's really fun. And I tend to sell sets as a general rule. So having some on hand is kind of nice. I also send a lot of cards out between my pen pals and friends and family and whatnot. I do actually mail a lot of things, so I do kind of like to have a lot of stuff on hand. Birthdays and thank yous are the ones I go through the fastest, so they are the ones I kind of default to unless I need a specific card. So that is why I went to birthday with this, but you could easily create this as a thank you card, a thinking of you card. I think even it could be a sympathy card. It's still pretty it's not over the top. There's not a lot going on. So I think that would work as well. But anything you need, don't add a sentiment. Add the sentiment after when you actually need the card for something. I tend to add the sentiment because on the tutorials, I like to do a full card design so that you have the idea, but you don't have to. You could easily leave off the sentiment and then just add it later, like at the same place that I do, and then that kind of makes this even a little more versatile because you can just add the sentiment when you're ready. Now, I don't know how long I've been crafting for quite a while now. I don't think it's ever going to get old watching metallic embossing powder melt. That has to be one of my favorite things ever. It always seems so magical. I don't know why. I think it's just because it goes from such a dull look to this beautiful shiny look. But every time I melt embossing powder, the metallics especially, it's such a fun thing to watch and I just love it. So I get a little excited every time I get to do this. And I don't use the metallics as much as I should really because they're just so fun. But yeah, so you could, like I said, if you prefer gold to silver, you could easily replicate this and do gold instead. It would look beautiful with these colors as well. Or you could do anything. You could do it in black embossing powder if you wanted to. I just really wanted to bust out my silver because I don't use it very often. And then for my sentiment, I did choose to go with a happy birthday sentiment. This is from Simon Says Stamp. It's from the Big Birthday Greetings stamp set. And here you can see how dirty my ink pad is now after using it with my flower. It's not a big deal. I mean, I have a clean one that I have set aside. So if I needed to do clear embossing, I could use the clean one instead of the one that's kind of dirty. But honestly, most of the time I'm using a colored embossing powder, so it really doesn't matter if the Versamark is a little bit dirty. But if that bothers you, of course, you could buy a new one and just have a clean one on hand. And then I use the dirty one for when I'm going to stamp something that doesn't really matter. That kind of works out. Now, I chose to cut these down into little labels just because I like that look. I don't want them to be super eye-catching, though I am going to leave the background white. You could go in and use Spun sugar and like kind of tint them to a lighter color, and then it wouldn't be white. Or you could use milled lavender. They're both really light colors. But I opted to just leave it white because my card base is white and you are going to get that white layer. I just find that it makes it look really nice together. It kind of is very cohesive. So it's kind of what I lean towards. But there's no right or wrong. As long as your crafting makes you happy, that is all that matters. At the end of the day, like it's not about, there's no art police here. I mean, there are art police, and don't worry, they come after me every now and then too. But what they say doesn't matter. As long as you are happy and as long as you are excited by what you're making, that is all that matters. Trust me, that's all that matters. So you make whatever makes you happy. Because I will have people say, could I do it this way? Could I do it that way? Absolutely you can. You change it up. You make it your own. If you want to do my card to the exact, that's fine too. It does not bother me at all. My whole channel is hopefully helping people feel inspired. That is the only reason I have a channel, is because I want to inspire you to create. I do get a lot of comments, usually like in my actual like real life, not online so much, but I get a lot of comments where like, oh, I could never create like that, or I could never. Yeah, you can. I'm teaching you. I'm showing you. You absolutely can. And if you need to copy my version of something to get there, that's perfectly okay. Don't even worry about it. Not a big deal. And you don't need to ask my permission to recreate my cards. People do, and I appreciate that you're checking, but you don't need to. It's okay. I wouldn't share something that I was going to get mad about other people, recreating. Perfectly okay. So I did splatter on some perfect pearls onto the background. You guys know I love the shimmer and shine. If you don't like the splatter look, you could absolutely skip that step. Although this just adds a little bit of interest and texture in the background, and I do prefer that, but completely up to you. And then we're going to layer it up. Now, because I heat emboss these panels, they are a little bit curved, so I did just set my Misti on top as I'm waiting for them to adhere to the silver layer, just to make sure they actually lay flat. That's probably one of my biggest irritations, is when they, like, a corner lifts and then you catch it trying to stick in an envelope or something. I hate that. It really irritates me. So a really easy way to combat that is to stick it under the Misti and have that weight just kind of hold it down and keep it there. Now, I actually recently got the precision glue press. I haven't busted it out of its box yet, but don't be surprised if you see it show up here, in a couple of videos. I'm on the fence about it. I think it's a great idea. I go back and forth on whether or not I needed one, but my local ladies had a bunch in, and I thought I would give it a go. So I did pick up it's by the same brand that made Misti. It's My Sweet Petunia, the glue press. And it has my favorite Nuvo Deluxe glue in it too. So I caved. I had to buy it and try it. So we'll see. I haven't busted it out yet, but when I do, I will give you my thoughts on it. If you're on the fence at all about getting one, or if you have one, let me know your thoughts. I would love to know. Yes, it still clogs, but I knew that going in. I have yet to find a glue that doesn't clog. It's some facet, it's glue. It's going to do that. It's fine. I create so much that I don't generally have a problem with my glues clogging, but it's glue. That's kind of in its nature. So I'm not really concerned about that. And if you are a member to my channel, thank you so much for your support. I cannot express how much it means to me that you believe in my dream enough to want to support it. Thank you so much. And if you aren't a subscriber to the channel, please consider subscribing. I have a dream to hit 20,000 by the end of the year. I think it's achievable. We'll see. We're over halfway though, so who knows? So if you enjoy my content and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It would mean so much to me. I would really appreciate it. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I really appreciate you as well. I'm just super blessed and honored to have you guys hanging out with me every week, multiple times a week, kind of checking in and sharing your creations with me and leaving me your kind comments. I just really appreciate everything you guys are doing to support my channel and my dreams. So thank you very much. And then here you can see I'm just going to adhere down my sentiment. I did silver heat emboss it, and I did layer it on some silver cardstock and cut it out again, just because that helped it stand against the background and kind of gives that nice layered look. You could skip that step, but I do think that it just adds a little bit of something extra. And because it's me and I cannot ever not add the bling, I did go in with 3 silver pearls. I just kind of added them around the sentiment. It's just because I love the bling. If you don't have any embellishments, don't worry about it. It was beautiful as it is. I love embellishments and I tend to buy them, so I really need to use them. So I did bust out just 3 around the sentiment there. And then that is the whole card design. I think this is a pretty versatile card. You could easily recreate this fairly quickly in multiple colorways. You could do it multiple different embossing powders if you didn't want to do silver. You could do gold, you could do a metallic black. There's like pearly embossing powders out there. Like there's so many things you could do to change this up and make multiple card sets if you needed to, and then leave off the sentiment and just add it later if you're not totally sure what you'd need it for. But I think this was a pretty cool design, but I cannot wait to hear what you guys think. You tell me your thoughts. As always, leave me a like, leave me a comment, and please consider subscribing. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and Christmas in July the 12 weeks of Christmas is coming. Christmas in July is past, and I have some autumn and Halloween cards coming up as well. So I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye for now.